Today I am swatching two of my favourite colours and making a tiny landscape. So recently I reordered a couple of my favourite colours. Some Burnt Sienna by Michael Harding and some Indigo by Winsor & Newton. Here is the Burnt Sienna now. When you get it straight off the tube, it's a dark brown, or a mid-brown rather, and then as you dilute it, it tends towards an orange or orangey red or a russet. Perfect for painting fox fur or red squirrels, or even a sunset. And then the indigo starts off very dark, and then as you dilute it down, it turns into almost a perfect sky colour, certainly where I live anyway. And when you mix them together, you can get various different shades. So you can get bluey grey like this, stormy sky maybe, a darker brown, or neutralised brown by the tiny amount of blue, or a dark and even darker blue, darker grey blue. You can even get a kind of a sepia tone. Here they are dry. There's the pure colours at the top. Look at the indigo, it goes from a night to a day sky. And then you've got the burnt sienna there looking like sand, and then the bottom one is, well, that's a sepia if you ask me. So instead of making a swatch card with little tiny squares on, let's make a little tiny painting instead. I've got a stripe of the burnt sienna, wet, and then I've got a stripe of the indigo on the top of it. And we'll just put in a couple of random patches of the indigo underneath the sienna. So it's kind of like an horizon line. Let's wet the top area, the sky, if you like. Bring that wet down towards the stripes of colour and we'll just run it through the indigo. And obviously the paint gets wet and it runs up into the wetted area, and that should be that below the horizon. Scrub them in a little bit. And we're getting a green, it's mixing itself into a green there. We're letting the paints mix together and do their own thing. It's curled up, the paper's curled up, so I'm going to flatten it out with a few mixing jars. And here it is dry. Now you could leave it like this, as an abstracted landscape, a stormy beach scene maybe, or you could develop it into a little tiny landscape if you want. So I am using the mixes that I got before. So there's a grey blue. They look like two bodies of water receding into the distance. So I put a little bit of sparkle onto those with a semi-dry brush. Let's have some birds flying in the sky. This is the dark mix, the nearest I could get to a black. And you can see that it's different to the very dark blue of the pure indigo. Let's put some trees on over this side. Can't really get a green. You can get a kind of bluey green or a turquoise. And in order to get a green, you probably need to add a touch of yellow. But just to illustrate, just to stick with these two colours, this is in effect a swatch card, don't forget. So we're not going to add any other colours, we're sticking with these two. We'll paint in, use the very dark value to paint in some tree trunks and some branches. Now I'm not trying to produce a perfect painting here. This is in place of swatching little squares that you often see people do. It's just a chance to see what it would actually look like in a painting rather than 20 squares on a sheet of paper. So there we are, 3 trees to match my 3 birds, a little bit of symmetry there. I developed the foliage again just to try and hide that tide mark. And finally I put some of the dark value in along the top of the land area just to neaten it up and make it make a little bit more sense by removing the white of the paper. Just tip the paper there, just wet it underneath that dark area that I've just added. Give the page somewhere to flow into. That's just about it. Well, a nice way of trying out your new colours rather than just painting lots of little squares which might not actually mean that much to you. There we have it. Tiny landscape made from indigo and burnt sienna. And we've got the full range of the different colours there, the very deep orange there, the more muted there, and then the very deep blue, and the very, very pale sky blue, and then a range of blues, greys, and even almost turquoise. Hope you found that useful. I'll see you next time.